is Rich Keefe. It's the DORK Podcast. Ryan Davey. It's the DORK Podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Raven Von Draven. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
I'm excited to talk about this topic today. I know it's been burning a hole in our pocket for a week now.
And everybody has seen this movie.
Everybody's talking about it.
People are banging down our door like, when are you guys going to finally do this review? We got to have this review.
When are you going to get off your goddamn ass and do this?
Well, we were a little busy, thank you very much, because we were counting down the top 50 movies of all time. And I'll tell you what, it was obviously a very daunting task. It's something that it's not like set in stone, like my personal top 50. It's always kind of changing. There are certain movies that'll always be in it, but then there are other ones in and out. The rankings can all move around. But overall, looking at the list, you, me, Mac and Goo, and our buddy Woody, the five of us, it's a pretty great list. And there's obviously going to be omissions because it's only the top 50. It's not the top 1,000.
Right.
I think top to bottom, though, it's pretty damn good. Like, it represents the Dork Podcast pretty well.
It actually does. I was actually surprised looking at the list as a whole when you sent it out. I'm like, this is actually pretty good. It's funny too. Like you said, it was a daunting task. And like everyone who did it was like, I don't really want to do this.
Right.
Like, because it's like it's such a hard thing to do. But it actually turned out really well. Like I was actually like, yeah, I mean, if we were to do this over and over again, it would be some version of that list.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a few that like each one of us individually really like that we could have made an argument for that didn't crack it, but overall it's pretty good. So if you guys haven't seen it, you can check out the two episodes. We split it up into two episodes on YouTube and on the podcast. I posted something on Instagram. I'll post a longer thing on Twitter. I just wanted people to listen to it first before I just kind of like unveiled the 50 that are out there. But yeah, overall pretty good. So check that out. Let us know what you guys think at Dork Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and you can always email us if you have a really a lot to say. dorkpodcast@gmail.com. You have a lot to get off your chest. It's possible.
And some of those emails, it's a lot of words, but saying not a lot.
Yeah.
So
But we read them. We read them all.
we do read them. Yeah.
We read them. We read them emails.
This week in Dork.
Coming up a week from Saturday, we have the, I believe, 13th annual Oktoberfest at Idle Hands. I'm thrilled to once again be back hosting the Stein hoisting competition.
Hosting with the mosting.
I'll be hosting the Stein hosting competition. Looking forward to that. Obviously, that's at 4:00. It's pretty much all day long. I know friend of the podcast, Norris the Terrible, is actually going to be performing from 5 to 7. Marcus, the now defunct Boxers podcast, but they do a good job. So I'm looking forward to sticking around and seeing them play as well. But it's always a good time. Dunk tank. They raise money. You get some good beers. They got good food on set. They got the German like Oompa band going. It's nice. It's a nice time.
They do it nice. There's pretzels. There's cheese. There's beer.
What do you
So
want?
what else do you need? What else at a dunk tank? What else? You got any celebrities getting dunked, or is it just local flavor?
I think it's I don't know if you ever heard of Nick Fitzy Stevens.
I have.
Yeah, he's getting dunked.
He's getting dunked.
I think one of the weather guys is a weather guy getting dunked. A local weatherman.
A weatherman.
Mhm.
The weatherman's coming.
Al Trillion.
Can you imagine? You got Al. You got Al. Is he still alive?
Sure. Yeah,
Let's say he is. Yeah.
I think he is. I don't
like to think that I don't like to think that he's not.
He was certainly alive and well when he came to my elementary school growing up.
Yeah, we.
Oh, we're losing you. You going?
You got me now?
Oh, there we are. Yeah.
We weren't lucky enough to have Al. We didn't. Not a big enough town. Nashua, New Hampshire. Surprised Dunbarton. Well, I think he was by the beach.
We're the smallest town in the world. I don't know how we got him. But it's a big celebrity sighting.
Yeah.
He's like, high temperatures.
Russia.
Anyway, I got one. This is sort of a pick of the pod, but I'm going to throw it into this week in hashtag Dork because this was recommended to me by Stiz, and it is a 1 hour long. Is that a short or is that a movie? It's just like a short movie. I don't even know how you describe it because it's not like 20 minutes. There's some shorts that are like 20 minutes. So it's
a novella if it were a book. Yeah,
right,
not like a short story. No longer than a short story, shorter than a feature.
Yeah. So Apparently there's these guys that I think they're going to be huge. I don't know much about them. I just stumbled onto this now because of the recommendation. But it's a horror movie, and like the main actor is also the writer, the director, the producer. The other actor in the movie is also the producer. I think they shot this thing for like $50. It's called Milk and Cereal. And cereal spelled like serial killer, not cereal like Lucky Charms.
Or like Serial the podcast.
Yeah, it's spelled like that.
Yeah.
So it's a found footage movie, and it's like these guys that are like they have like a YouTube channel that's like pranksters, and then like shit kind of goes crazy. Awesome. It's an hour watch. It's on YouTube. You know, they'll throw a couple ads in there a little bit, but if you have the fucking free YouTube one or whatever, like you can rip it in real quick.
Money bags.
Yeah, not me, but
free YouTube. Yeah.
Imagine what that's
paid
like.
YouTube. Yeah. No, thank
you.
you.
I'll sit through the 15-second, 30-second ads in the
Right.
middle to break it up. But Milk and Cereal, check it out. And I'll probably go back and look. They have some other videos too, but it kind of reminds me of James Wan, Lee Whannell when they came out with Saw, like together, really low budget. They'd already made like a version of it, and then they were like, all right, we'll throw you guys some money to like kick it up a notch. I feel like these guys are going to be doing big time stuff at some point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Smile 2, we got another trailer for this. This comes out next month. This could be decent for spooky season, making a late play for Dorky for horror movie of the year, which is a pretty competitive year, I would say.
It's always a pretty competitive. Did you watch Oddity?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
I got to get on that.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I was going to either watch that or the Topic du Jour, and I was like, we'll do this now. So I ended up last night watching Topic du Jour.
This is a nice palate cleanser before you go and watch that.
Yeah, I'll check out Oddity.
Yeah.
A show that nobody talked about that I did watch that I thought was pretty good was Dead Boy Detectives. It is a based off the comic book. It's also in the Sandman universe. So the Sandman Netflix series that you and I both loved. This is sort of an offshoot of that. There's a little bit of a tie-in, but like pretty compelling characters and like a fun story, but canceled after one season at Netflix.
Can't pay for everything, even Netflix.
No,
we got Happy Gilmore 2 coming out now. We got to spend our budget.
Dude, I did watch the Adam Sandler stand-up special. It's pretty good.
Was it any good?
Yeah, I liked it. Mixes a little song, a little joke, a little quick joke, a little song again.
Some weird noises that he makes. Yeah.
Real weird noises. One thing I liked about it too is if you don't watch the special, it's like an hour, a little hour plus. So you remember how the first, or not the first, but the last special he did on Netflix, he had the Chris Farley song that was like really good. This one, he does a song like all about comedy. And it's really good. Like just talking about like how important comedy is. And he like name checks like all these comedians from like way back in the day to like his friend. It's good.
Yeah.
That might even be on like Spotify for all I know, but it's good.
That. Do you know what? I stumbled upon something on TikTok and I went down a rabbit hole. Do you know Eddie Murphy hates David Spade?
Yes, but I think he's okay with him now. It was because David Spade had a Hollywood Minute joke.
Yes.
Where he called out Eddie Murphy. I forget what the exact joke was.
He called him like a falling star or something like that.
Yeah, which falling star. Then they showed a photo of Eddie Murphy, and he was really, really pissed. He's like, how can Saturday Night Live of all places take a shot at me?
Right.
So he was really mad at David Spade for a while, but I think and then he never went to SNL until was it the 40th or whatever? Like
something like that.
Forever. And then he eventually came back and he hosted not too long ago. And I'm sure he'll be at the 50th reunion now. But yeah, there was big beef with David Spade. I think they're fine now. But he was like, he held
fine as Eddie Murphy and David Spade can be. Right? They're not hanging out.
No. He also, I kind of thought that it was racist. I remember him saying that. And not that David Spade is racist, but the fact that he's like, there's been a lot of guys that have left SNL and maybe not made great movies.
Right.
And you're only going to take a shot at me? Like, what the fuck is that about?
Right.
He was pissed. Yeah.
We've all seen The Love Guru.
I've seen The Love Guru. We were just talking about it on the radio the other day, the Master of Disguise.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So I had a friend who saw that movie in the theater just because remember though, turtle. Like he went to see the movie just because of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dana Carvey. So this is another list. So speaking of lists that we love doing, the top 50 SNL character or SNL, what would you even call them? Players, actors. SNL
actors, or no, because actors like movies, like SNL cast members. I would say
cast members. Yeah, top 50 SNL cast members of all time. I would say off the top of my head, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Eddie Murphy, would all be in the top 10 somewhere. Obviously, like Will Ferrell, but like those guys would all be right up there.
Andy Samberg, you know,
I
like,
like Sandberg.
so I don't know. That's what I'm saying. He would be on my list for
Okay.
sure.
Sure.
No, speaking of that though, so what's that, like the Jason Reitman movie about the first night of Saturday Night Live? That's
Yeah,
supposed to be like a real. It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about it.
I remember my parents telling me the story about when they first saw Saturday Night Live back 50 years ago. Like they had no idea what it was. And they're like, what is this? And he's like, at that time too, like they did so many like commercial parodies, which they still do today. But before you even knew that was even a thing, and like watching them and be like, what is that? What show is this? Like,
it was funny. There was a movie called Drunk, Stoned, and Nearly Dead, or like the movie about National Lampoons. National Lampoon. Futile and Stupid Gesture. And I went back and I read some of the old, like, you can find them, like the National Lampoon magazines.
Yeah.
Fucking so funny.
Yeah.
Like such good writing, so funny. Like for the time too, like it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Also, Netflix announced that they're gonna have a 6-part documentary called Mr. McMahon, all about Vince McMahon. And I was like, all right, this could be pretty interesting. And they have interviews from him prior to him getting pushed out of WWE. And so there's a bunch of people involved in it. But we were talking about this on the radio the other day on the new Jones and Keefe program. And
congratulations.
Congratulations
to both of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Billy Lanny, our producer, was like, wrestling or Netflix is getting Monday Night Raw next year. So I wonder how, like, will they really go after? I know Vince doesn't run it anymore, but like, how much are they willing to like go into like what really went on there? Or are they going to kind of like play it kind of from the outside?
Well, I think they're playing it from the outside, and I'm guessing it's from the attempt of like separating themselves from that. Like we don't buy into this because we made this documentary, but we kind of have to address it. And I think a lot of it is going to be, especially like maybe like the later couple episodes, like, you know, if they're talking to Triple H or they're talking to, you know, whoever's running it, that like, no, we're trying to move away from that. Like we're trying to get away from it because we understand now, you know, the late 90s were really just a weird, scummy time for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, even past that, I mean, there was
early 2000s, late 90s is probably like pretty scummy times for everybody. Yeah.
I'll still watch this. This will be something I'm going to watch, and we can sort of grade it as we go on. Also, George R.R. Martin, he had been teasing this, and he posted a blog somewhere talking about House of the Dragon season 2. This blog post has since been deleted. However, you can find it anywhere you want because everybody screenshotted it. But long story short, I didn't even read the whole thing. But he was talking about, remember how the very shocking moment, especially for those who didn't read the book, the shocking moment in episode 1, I think it was, 1 or 2, of season 2 of House of the Dragon. We talked about it when we did our episode recaps. I guess it went off a little bit differently in the book. And so he was like, from what he understands, like, the book people didn't like it. The people who didn't read the book probably thought it was fine. But so anyway, so spoiler, I guess, for this, if you haven't watched House of the Dragon, but Aegon and Helena had, in the show, they have 2 kids, and then they come in, son for a son, and those 2 guys come in and kill
the rat catchers.
Yeah, the rat catchers fucking decapitate a baby, his son. In the book, apparently, they have 3 kids, not 2. And there's a scene, so there's the twins that are 6, and then there's another son that's 2. And I guess they go in there, and the rat catcher's like, well, it's son for a son, and they make the mom choose the son. And the mom goes, I'm not going to do it. Take me instead. Which in the show, she just like offered him jewelry. Remember? She's like, no. It's like, don't you want this? So in a way, it kind of bumps up Helena a little bit. So I get his point. Is like, it kind of makes her look a little bit more badass and like heroic, where she's like just fucking kill me and like leave them. They don't do that. So then they're like, pick. So they make her pick between her sons.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't. And then they go, well, then I'll kill all 3 of your kids then. So she's like, all right. So she's like, I want to keep the twins together. So she's like, fucking take the little guy. But then they're like, all right, we're going to go the other way. So like the guy's like, all right, we're hearing what you say. We're going to go the other way. And then the guy says to the kid, like the kid that survives, he's like, you know that your mom actually chose you. to die.
She wanted you to die.
Yeah. But as George R. R. Martin points out, he's like, that kid's super young. So like, who knows if he'll even retain that? Like that's
Right.
not clear. But I guess there's another whole like major character. There's like another Targaryen that isn't in the show and may not be in the show. And I guess they had told George R. R. Martin, they're like, hey, he's not in the show yet. Part of it is because it's a pain in the ass to like cast more kids and like have more kids in the show. But he's like, he's young enough where like we could always add him in season 3.
But how?
Well, you could say she was pregnant or something,
Maybe.
you know, like didn't know. Like you could maybe go that route, but
yeah,
that's
horrible. Yeah,
it's fucked. But then
it's also like,
yeah.
How old is George R. R. Martin that he still has a blog? Like people still blog.
Also, dude, finish your book. All everybody wants you to do is finish your book. So
yeah, stop writing the blog.
Cool it with the blog, maybe. Give the blog
Write your book. Yeah.
All right, you got a video game minute, or you just want to get right to the topic du jour?
I do. So it not really. I'll just do this quick. You don't. You don't have to do it. So one of the things that did you hear about this game Concord? Not Concord, but like Concord.
No, I don't
they're
think
calling
so.
it. It's spelled like Concord, I think.
Yeah.
New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So Sony put out this game, and it was supposed to be like an Overwatch kind of game. It was like a first-person shooter, team-based thing, like a Valorant or whatever. Okay. So this game comes out at the end of August, and it is just no one heard of it. Like it was just they didn't know what the hell was going on, and you know, and Friday they're shutting it down. Like the game was out for like 2 weeks, and they're issuing refunds to like everybody.
It's like Borderlands the movie. They're like, here it is.
Yeah,
no, we're yanking it.
Imagine that, and then if like everyone who went and saw that movie, they're like, actually, we're going to give you your money back.
Wow,
and delete the movie.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and this movie's. I mean, this game's been in development for like 8 years, and they estimated between 100 and 200 million dollars sunk into this, and they're just like, I guess it was just no one played it. Like there was I didn't see like any marketing.
I never heard of it
at all.
Yeah.
I did start playing Star Wars Outlaws. This is kind of so. Speaking of refunds, I actually. Well, what happened was, so I downloaded it from my PC, and the PC version of this game is fucking junk. This game stunk. I'm not. You remember like PlayStation when like you would have like no texture in the faces, and it was just like flat. I tweeted it out. I'm like, I wish I could show this to you because it would crash. Like it just kept crashing and looked like a badly scratched PlayStation 2 game. Like it was so bad.
Oh.
That I actually went through Ubisoft, got a refund, and then got it on PlayStation.
Is it better on PlayStation?
It's better on PlayStation. It's better on PlayStation. I think it's one of those things that like Ubisoft hasn't really figured out how to port games to PC. So like their games are built for consoles. Like I don't know. I was dumb for doing it in the first place. It's actually really fun. Like I haven't like gotten that deep into it yet. I haven't had time. But I'm high hopes for this. That this is gonna like. Come around at some point. Right. And the last game I want to talk about, it comes out I think next week. I don't know much about Warhammer, but there's a game. It's like Space Marine 2 or something like that comes out, and they're touting it as like the next best like Gears game. Like it's like that kind of game. Okay. So I'm definitely going to check that out once I'm done with Wukong. Once I'm done with Star Wars Outlaws, I think my next game will probably be Warhammer.
All right, very good.
For sure.
No, that sounds good. Y'all ready for bisque? Topic du jour time, Ryan?
I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I'm glad you asked because it's the topic of the day. And today...
Last week, I saw a film. As I recall, it was a horror film.
I don't know if this is a horror film or not.
Not a horror film.
I think some people refer to the first one kind of as a horror film. I don't know. Like, it's got horror vibes, I suppose. It's more fantasy and comic book. It's based on a comic book. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day. And today it is The Crow. 2024's The Crow. It is 1 hour and 51 minutes long. Currently on Roddy T's, 23% by the critics, 64% by the audience. It stars little Billy Skarsgård, FKA Twigs.
Yes.
Is that how you're supposed to say it?
I believe so.
All right. And Danny Houston, who is a terrifying son of a bitch. Every time you see Danny Houston, you're a little bit scared.
You know, something spooky's going on.
Something's about to go down. But Ryan, we begin with all of our movie and TV reviews, spoiler free. The Crow. Did you like it?
You know, I had some strong feelings when I first saw this movie, and then given some time, I think I saw it before. I saw it like a week before you.
Yes, you did.
Given some time and some thought, no, I fucking hated this movie.
Okay, hated it. Got it. I
How about
can't.
you?
I can't say that I liked it. I can already tell early because we haven't discussed this. We never
No.
really discussed it ahead of time. We
Nope.
usually kind of unpack it as we go. So I don't really know where. I had a sense that you weren't going to like it. I don't have as strong a feeling against it. Like, to me, this is not, at least from me, you're not going to win the Dorky for worst movie of the year. I don't think it's the worst movie of the year. I didn't think it was great. I don't recommend it to anybody. So you can leave it as like, we watched it so you don't have to. We both loved the first one so much that we're like, all right, we got to see this one. We were both very intrigued. 30-year anniversary from the original. A great question, of course, is did this movie need to be made?
Would you like to answer first? Do you want me to answer?
You answer first, because my answer might surprise you.
No, it did not need to be made.
No, it didn't. However, this might shock you.
It did.
I wasn't as opposed to it as others because I know now, like, it's the 30th reunion or 30th anniversary from when the original came out, and a lot of the cast members are like, this is like so disrespectful to Brandon Lee, and like, how can you do that? But they did make 3 sequels to that movie. So that movie came out in 1994.
Correct.
After
and
that,
the TV show.
Thank you. They made 3 movies and a shitty TV show.
Yeah.
And this to me isn't so much based off of that movie as it is their interpretation of the comic book, which is what the 94 version was. So like, I actually don't hate it. As much as I respect Brandon Lee and like that was such a tragedy, it's not like they shelved anything The Crow for 30 years. Then they're like, let's fucking make money and bring it back. Like, I don't know. I think this was a swing and a miss, but I'm not all that pissed about the swing, to be honest.
I'm pissed that like you didn't, we'll get into it more, but like is calling it The Crow to me seems like a cash grab. Like it's not a Crow movie.
Yeah.
It's in a sense, it's like the same plot, but like it doesn't, the script doesn't really resonate the same way as the original one does. And that, like, we'll get into that when we get much of a deeper dive, but like, you just made a movie about a guy who comes back from the dead and you just called it The Crow. Like, that's basically.
It's funny that these movies came out in the same year because these are both like 2 of your favorite movies. Yeah. This actually didn't make our top 50, but like I'd considered it. I really enjoyed the first movie, but what was better, The Crow or Roadhouse from this year?
See, I think at the time, if you asked me at the time, I didn't see Roadhouse until I was like 2021. Like, so it was one of those movies.
No, I mean the new ones. I mean like the.
I thought you meant.
No, I mean like Jake Gyllenhaal's Crow or Bill Skarsgård's Crow or Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse.
Which is weirder to think about because I feel like we did that Roadhouse episode like 2 years ago.
I know it's a pretty shitty movie. I think I like this one a little bit more. I'll tell you why in spoilers, but like it's close. Like if somebody was like, "No, that one's better," I'd be like, "Okay, fine." Like I'm not gonna.
Close. And they are cut from the same cloth in that you could have called. You didn't have to call the Gyllenhaal movie Roadhouse. You didn't have to call this The Crow. They have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, we're gonna bring these movies, like these 2 like beloved cult classics,
right?
And we're gonna like get modern stars and be in there. Josh in the chat wants to know, would you rather drink Fight Milk or watch this movie again?
Well, if I'm trying to cut weight, I'm going to drink Fight Milk.
I'm drinking the Fight Milk
with the power of The Crow.
This is an hour and 51 minutes, so I'll probably slam that Fight Milk also.
4 bodyguards, 4 bodyguards. But I can't say that word. Bodyguards.
Well, I'm hosting the Steinhoisting. I never read the comic. You read this comic?
A lot. I read it several times. Yeah.
Really good. Like you put it up there with some of the greats.
It's funny. Okay. Once you get like kind of like the backstory. So like I don't. It's very personal. Like you can tell that like the person James O'Barr doing this, there was a personal story. Would you like James O'Barr's backstory as to how this book got written?
Yeah, obviously.
So he was the product of foster care. Like was bounced around abusive households, and he's been very vocal about this. And so when he's 18 years old, he meets this woman named, I believe her name was Sherry. But I think she's called Shelley. She's named after Mary Shelley in
Got
the
it.
comic book. So Shelley's named after her.
Mhm.
And he was something happened. Like he needed her to like come pick him up, and she was killed by a drunk driver. And like it's so and it was like his fault. Like she normally wouldn't have to come pick him up.
Oh,
And then so there's this whole thing of like grief of like this like random act that happened to him, like the love of his life, first person he met in his life who he absolutely loved, and she loved him, and this happened. And then he joins the Marines, I believe, and he starts like doing this as like a drawing exercise, and then makes it into like a book, like as he's serving in the armed forces. So it's this real exercise for him. Like it's super personal, and like this tragic loss that seems like random. So in the book, Eric and Shelley are murdered at random. Like their car breaks down in the road, and this gang of like T-Bird and Fun Boy, like they just happen upon them and kill them. And so it's random. And this is like so far from that.
Yes.
Like it's so like and the one thing that I really again, the book is really well drawn. It's not very well written. It seems like a lot of like stream of consciousness, and like the panels are kind of out of order sometimes, but like one of the things I liked about it is that like at the end, like Eric he's not really any better. He's not, it doesn't help until he lets go, until he's like, I just can't do this anymore. Like I can't. And this is just like so far from that it's hard to like reconcile like why you thought that this should be called The Crow.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. That was a long way around.
It's a good backstory though. I didn't know this. Like it's always been like a book that has been out for a while that I've wanted to go back and read, and I haven't. I also like the look. Something's a little bit different, but the look of Bill Skarsgård as the Crow, didn't love it.
No, and again, it's this weird, that the Crow movie with Brandon Lee is so much of that like grungy 90s 1994 or 93 feel to it.
Oh my god, yeah.
It like even like, but the music
soundtrack
drove that too.
Yeah,
and the soundtrack fit the movie. And this they could have taken contemporary artists and been like, look, we're trying to make basically that equivalent, like a modern equivalent of that, and they didn't.
No, they did not.
Yeah,
no, they did not. All right, obviously it's not a must see. What is your hashtag dork score for the 2024 The Crow?
I'm going to give it a very soft, flaccid, floppy 2.
Deuce.
I'm gonna take a deuce on it.
I'm gonna go 2.5. I liked it more than the Roadhouse that we talked about 6-9 months ago, whenever that came out. It was operating at like a deuce. There was like a handful of scenes, maybe like 80% of the way into the movie, that like kicked it up a stone for me. And we'll get into that here in a moment, but I'll go 2.5. Davey's gonna go 2. You guys, let us know what you thought, if you even saw The Crow, because it's getting pumped. Like the box office numbers for this are bad. It is a bomb. Critically, it's been a bomb. As we said with the Roddy T score, the audience doesn't hate it as much, but nobody's seen it. Like I don't even think it finished. It's only been out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in the top 10 Labor Day weekend. And like, there's not even like a lot of new movies. So it was just like all these retread movies that have been out for months scored, earned more money than The Crow did. So
what's crazy too is like, I think number 1 at the box office Labor Day was Deadpool again, and it made like $5 million.
Yeah, so it was like nobody. Yeah, it's not a great movie weekend, obviously, but
like Deadpool's looking around like the top 10. Like, are you guys gonna do anything, or what's
jump up here?
Poking him with a stick? Like, you guys are good down there, or
nothing. All right, let's get to this.
Spoilers! Here come the spoilers!
All right, so real quick, I'll start with my like the best thing and then the worst thing. So the best thing to me was when the Bill Skarsgård finally goes as like the Crow. I don't care for the makeup, I don't care for the look, but when he finally goes on like that murder rampage at the end, he uses a sword for a lot of his kills. He has a kill back of the head through the mouth sword kill. He has one where he takes the sword horizontally and pushes it through the guy's jaw. Fucking awesome. And then anytime, like, because Deadpool does this too, anytime a guy has a sword in one hand and a gun in the other, is fucking so
Pretty awesome.
kick-ass. So him
Yeah.
just like walking through and just mowing guys down, I was like, all right, this can't be to me the worst movie of the year because at least there was like a 5-10 minute stretch where I really enjoyed it.
So to that end, I'm just going to ask you a question, and this isn't an accusatory question, Richard,
Oh,
but like, how
no.
much time in the movie was left when that happened?
Uh, not a great deal. There was not a lot of meat on that bone.
Probably about 15 minutes left in the movie, and that took place. I think I was texting you as I was watching it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I think in an hour, I think the runtime for the movie minus the credits, because it's always like 10 minutes, right? So I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes or something. Um, he puts the makeup on with 20 minutes left in the movie.
And like, I don't know. I understand not doing the same makeup as Brandon Lee's Crow. Just like we've seen the Joker multiple times, and we've seen like
Right.
different variations of the Joker. Some are better, some are worse. This just seemed kind of a miss. Like, so he's just like a skinny dude with a lot of tattoos anyway, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go like thick raccoon like eyeliner," and like that's basically all I'm doing.
Yeah. And
I don't know. I wanted something. I wanted something better. Like he wasn't cool enough. Like anything with any crow type of like actual physical bird crow seemed kind of just like forced and like put in there. He didn't rock the trench coat great. Like I don't know.
No.
That it kind of bummed me out.
Plus
So
with
that
like no shirt underneath it, like that's dumb. But
Yeah.
also like one of the problems I had, so the sword things were cool, I'll give it that. But
Thank you.
like the sword was super short. Like it wasn't the right size. It was like a
Little
little
guy.
tiny sword.
You
So
got good control though. Not a lot of
you had to
range.
you do a lot of,
Yeah.
but a lot of good wrist action, but it was not a full size katana, which was weird. So that was the best. What was the worst part for you?
So the worst part for me, and all due respect to FKA Twigs, and apparently she's the one that like Shia LaBeouf was
Yes.
like a real son of a bitch to, like a real prick.
Correct.
So like I'm sure that woman has gone through a lot in her life. However, it's not even all her fault. Like I just the main thing is you want that relationship to mean so much, and you want the crow to be doing what he's doing out of love, like that's the love of his life.
Right.
And they did such a poor job at building that relationship so you would give a shit. Like they knew each other for like a day. They
Right.
like had like a quick like love scene,
A lot of humping.
a lot of humping, like a drug. Oh, they did drugs together. They escaped together, but it was so flimsy. And you're like, so this guy's putting like everything on the line for this girl who he barely met. She's
Right.
not very compelling as a character, or like what I don't know. That really let me down. Like I'm like, I know I should be more invested in this, but I'm not.
But it's so to that point, like, and again, I know that this is a disease. I know that this is something that to be taken seriously, but like, it's kind of hard to be sympathetic for like two drug addicts who meet in rehab and then 48 hours later they're both dead.
Like there wasn't much else. We didn't really know a lot about him.
And to the whole core of this story is a love story, and like that was not present at all. I mean, it's just two people who've been banging for 2 days, and that's it, right? And again, like I'm sure FKA Twigs, whoever, but like that character is a kind of a piece of shit. Like she kills people. Like she's like, and granted, and that's the other thing.
Well,
like,
I mean, I don't
you
know.
bring
Like,
you bring the devil. You bring the devil into this.
Devil,
Like
so,
literally the devil.
So Danny
Like-
Houston's character is like 1,000 years old, so he'll send souls to hell in exchange for like to live forever, basically.
Yeah. So it's like, but he's like, I had to send like pure souls. Like, you're not a pure soul. And by the way, what was with that rehab? It was like they were all wearing pink, and it was also like
It looked like a
mixed,
jail,
but it was like,
first,
was it jail or is it rehab? Because they were in like cells, but like not really.
I think it was supposed to be a rehab.
Well, it absolutely was, but like,
Well, no, yeah, it was, but I was confused too because it was like, so she gets busted, like they're coming after her because her friend died, so she's like, I gotta get out of there. Then like the cops stop her, and like her in her bag she has drugs, and then the next thing you know, she's just there. Like I guess like that's great.
And-
She's probably better off there than jail, but like what? I don't know if that's
you don't even know why Eric's there.
No, but what we do know is like they love each other.
A horse died.
They had like one.
So maybe he's in rehab because a horse died.
That horse got all fucked up with the barbed wire.
Yeah.
But then he's like, like they'd known each other for like one conversation, and then she's like, "Hey, like I gotta go." He's like, "All right, let's escape." let's escape together. I'm
yeah,
like,
let's do love together. Like what? Like
yeah,
what?
and then you hump
And the
them.
other thing, so that's one thing I agree with you on that. And then the other thing I hated is like, why is Eric Draven respawning?
Mm.
Like, so like he dies, comes back to life, becomes like invulnerable, but then twice goes back to like meet this like underworld guy where he teaches him another lesson and then sends him back. Like
Yeah.
that happens like 3 times in the movie. Like,
Kronos. That character's name is Kronos.
which no, it isn't. Like that's not who Kronos is. But
That's the character's name right
so
there.
that's
Or even the
no,
Romans or Greeks.
no, that's not his name. Because that's not who Kronos is. And I refuse to accept that. And
He was the spirit
but
guide.
he has to teach him but I thought the crow was the spirit guide.
Well,
Or is he the same? Is
no,
they
he's a
one and the
spirit.
same?
Oh no, actually, on Wikipedia it says Kronos is a spirit that guides Eric in his mission. So Eric kind of reports
like,
back to him.
It's the beauty of the first movie and the beauty of the book is that like you don't need that.
No.
Like he just knows. He just knows in his head like this is what I need to do.
What was the deal with Danny Houston? Obviously, he's a scary guy. He's scary in everything that he's in, but he's like he's like teaching all these girls to play piano, but then he's also like a crime lord.
Well,
and
that's
has a deal with the devil going.
But it was also great because like he talked about being from Austria and hearing. I'm assuming he's talking about Mozart, but he's talking about like being in Austria and hearing like all the great pianists and all this stuff. And then you hear this girl play and she's not that good.
You're like, God damn.
Like I've heard better piano recitals in high school. Like I don't know.
Definitely good.
Absolutely. So like I don't know. Like high school kids are better than her. Like she wasn't even that good.
Yeah, it was not great.
No, and so I guess for me, I think the best part of this movie, it's hard to think of one.
Sword kills.
Sword kills are pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't like Skarsgård's fine. It's just I don't know. Like
he had like that rat tail mullet, and it's just like I don't know.
It's tough. It's like we were talking about this when we were doing our top movies ever. It's like when they cast. I remember at the time, and this sounds crazy to think about now, but at the time when they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker, I was like, I don't know, it's gonna be pretty tough to top Jack Nicholson, bud. And then he goes out there and like smokes it. So like it's always worth a shot, but it's like, all right, you're gonna make a Crow movie 30 years later. Brandon Lee put on an absolute tour de force in that performance, and you're gonna try to outdo that or at least match that. So like you're already going uphill and couldn't really do it.
So I'm going to share open image and I'm going to share this with you. So like if you look at like the original, let me see, present,
a poll here.
Share screen. So if I share this with you, I think you have to like accept it. So like this is kind of like, so when James O'Barr was like drawing Eric Draven, so you had like, I forget who the head was supposed to be, but the body, he like was like Iggy Pop.
Oh,
like he wanted that kind of like, so in that sense, like I guess one of the things, like if you look at this picture of like the original like Eric Draven, like you could see that like Bill Skarsgård could like do that. Like you could see like that body type. I got rid of it.
Oh, you got rid of it.
Oh, yeah, I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back so you can see it again.
Because he's sort of like, he looks kind of rock star-ish for sure.
Right.
And yeah,
so
I mean,
I'll show you.
If
you want side by side.
Like I don't, is Skarsgård going? It's not Jared Leto in the Joker, right? Like he doesn't have like grills. He's not like that.
No.
It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more Leto Joker, kind of.
But like he wasn't the Crow character
No.
until, like I said, like until there was like 20 minutes left of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't. So like, I mean, you can see like the similarities there, like just in terms of body shape, and like I like it a little leaner, but muscular. Like it's hard to. But like, what is this? Like this tattoo with like the woman's face, like in one of his eyes is one of the nipples is the eye. Like, what is that tattoo?
That's kind of wild. You ever think of doing that? Having like your nip be some part of a.
I've thought about. Have you seen?
They use my nip here or something.
It's like the guy who did the one. It was like the cat, but like his belly button was the cat's butthole. You seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it all right. All right. Well, anyway, that's our That sounds like
This movie stinks. This movie stinks out loud. It didn't need to be made. And the fact that, like, was it Rupert Evers who directed this?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I sure would. I think, yeah.
Rupert
I mean, I think
Sanders.
Rupert Sanders or Rupert not Everett. He's like, I think there is a opportunity for a sequel here. Like, I'd like to explore this world more. I'm like, no, you don't.
You don't. We're not
Don't you dare.
Although we are going to have a sequel to Beetlejuice, which next week I think we're going to do Beetlejuice.
I can't wait. That movie. speaking of goth movies that I'm very excited to see.
That should be better. So we'll do that for sure. TBD on the other episode. Maybe it'll just be like a This Week in Dork, but definitely Beetlejuice. Let us know what you guys thought of The Crow. Again, Dork Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Right now, though, worse than Madam Web, I say no. Yeah, it's not. At least it might get nominated for Dorky, but it's not going to win for worst.
It wasn't a good story, but at least it made sense.
Right. If that knew what was happening.
Right.
There was not a lot of questions there. All right, very good. That'll do it for us. Thanks for listening to this. And if you haven't, check out our top 50 movies of all time. Very proud of that. Very solid couple of episodes there. Tell a friend, tell a dork, and Davey promised me 1,000,000 times over you'll never do another rule.
No, I'm not gonna promise you that.